be thinking of as Africans. I think we've got a wake-up call as Africans. Okay, everybody. I think we have to begin the live stream straight away. Because I wanted to see how I can include a little bit of music, but I think we're having a little problem. So straight away, I have to begin the live stream by talking about what's happening around here in Asia. Like I said, we have a couple of issues that we need to talk about, and find a way forward, especially to most of us Africans who are here in Asia, who are here in China in particular. A lot of happenings have been taking place here in China, here in Asia, and I think most of our medias have been, broadcasting most of these happenings, and some of these things are not real, and most medias don't actually get first-hand information of what's happening here, because first of all, international medias are not really allowed into China, not really allowed. And so things that happen here in China are mostly broadcast by the Chinese media, or people share it around in social media platforms and all that stuff. But I'm not going to be talking so much about some of these things, but I feel like this is the right time for most of us Africans to actually wake up, because we've been sleeping for decades. And I think this is the right moment for most of us, if not all of us, to wake up. I think we are grown-ups. We are smart people. We don't have that time for revenge. We should not have times for, thinking of retaliating on what has actually happened to most of us here in Asia and also in America and other part of the world. This is the moment for us Africans to wake up. We got the keys. We have the keys, and we should be at the center stage to compete with most of these Western countries. We should, because especially most of us diasporans who have lived out here, we've seen where our resources have been heading to. We've seen how these people have been enjoying our resources. This is the moment for us to return back home and see how we can start building our continent. This is the moment. In fact, this is the moment, because we've been pushed to the wall. We've been humiliated. We've been called names for decades. And if we don't rise up now, it's not going to happen anytime. This is the right moment for most of us Africans to rise up and start thinking of how to build a continent, how to build a continent. Now, there are few homeworks most of us have to take into action. And some of these homeworks are: one, please take it serious. One, tribalism. As Africans, as people who want to develop themselves, develop their continent, we have to kick out tribalism, because this is one of the biggest things. This is one of the biggest target that, we've just been so focused on it and killing ourselves. We have to deal with tribalism. Secondly, as Africans, because this is how they see us out here. They see us out here as Africans. They don't see us out here as somebody from Nigeria, from South Africa, from Kenya, or wherever. These people out here, they see us as Africans. And so we have to unite as Africans and start working for Africans. It's just so sickening when you see people behaving the way they are behaving towards a certain race. And when they go on media, they concoct all kinds of lies. When they go on media, they say things that those who are on the ground are just so pissed off. This is not the time for us to retaliate. This is the time for us to re-strategize. This is the time for us to come together as one African. This is the time for us to come together as people who want to push forward the development of their continent. This is the time we have to wake up and say enough is enough. We've been maltreated for decades. We've been maltreated for centuries. From Asia to America to Europe. This is the time for us to rise as one man. This is the time for us to rise as Africans, not as Nigerians, not as South Africans, not as whatever, but as one. What am I trying to say? As Africans, this is the moment for us to team and start thinking the ways of how we can build our continent. First, we have to start by building our minds, our individual mindset. If we don't have the right mindset, we can't do anything. If we don't have the right mindset, we're not going anywhere. We have to start by building our mindset, thinking as one African, thinking as one. If not, we are just wasting our time. Now, wherever you are, I know there are so many things that we can do at this particular moment. Just so many things. And that is our voice. We can't do so much right now in action because of the current global crisis that's all over the place. But we can do a lot by teaming up in groups, by teaming up as Africans, and start thinking how to build our communities, and start thinking the technologies that we've seen out here, how to take it back in Africa. Start thinking our resources that the West have been taking to their own continent, how to take it to our people. This is the moment for us to do proper research on what most of us diasporans can go back home and start doing. There are a couple of things we have to start by doing. Like I said, our mindset. If you don't have the right mindset, you can't do anything. You just cannot do anything. So The first thing, like I said, we have to start by doing our research. There are plenty of projects that we can go back home and carry as group or individuals. But first, we have to do proper research, have the proper mindset of what we are about to do, and have the right team players. This is very important. Like I said, this is the right moment for most of us Africans to rise up and to start thinking. We don't have time to retaliate. We don't have time to go about, feeling so bad about the people around us, Asians, Americans, or whatever race. If we do that, then we are also, some kind of racist people, of which we don't have time for that. But this should be a proper wake-up call for most of us. I think what is actually happening, especially here in China and other part of the world, is great. I would say it's good, because I think this is the proper way for Asia, especially here in China, for them to retaliate and to irritate us, so as to wake up, so as to start thinking as one people. Now, let me elaborate first on a little bit about what's happening right here. A couple of weeks back, an African came into China and he was tested with the current pandemic. He was tested positive. When he was taken to where he will be quarantined, this guy escaped. I guess he escaped because of the current condition, the condition where he was being kept. It was not proper, so he had to escape. And when they found out that this guy has escaped, government officials in that area in Guangdong, they decided to go after all blacks. I said all blacks, not Africans, all blacks. So you have African Americans. They went after African Americans for quarantine. Everybody. Now, the funniest thing about it is when they went to Africans who got a Chinese family, who got Chinese families here, what they did was they will quarantine a guy who lives with his Chinese family without his Chinese wife or children. They will quarantine the guy and ask him to leave his house and go to a hotel. This is crazy. They will ask you to go to your hotel, not a hotel that you will actually decide to go to, but they will decide a hotel where you will have to go and lodge in and quarantine for 2 weeks, 14 days, which is not right. Okay, which is not right, because you have people who came here for business. They live in their hotels. And what the government officials here they did was they will go to these hotels and ask all Africans to leave, that they have to leave the hotel and go to another special hotel where they have decided that they will be there for 2 weeks for quarantine. And those who have a family, those who have Chinese families here, and they are living at home with their kids, they will go and quarantine the Chinese, they'll quarantine the African without quarantining the children or the wife. Now, the funniest thing is, if you live at home with your family and you have the virus, and the government comes to quarantine you without doing the same thing with your Chinese family, I think it's not right, because if you've been living with them for the past few days, probably if you have the virus, then they will be having it as well. And so what they did was they will just come and ask you to follow them, or they will ask you to take the test, and they will be back after a few days to give you the result. Positive or negative, you have to go for a 2 weeks quarantine. This is crazy. Now, I'm not saying to ask people to go for quarantine is not good. I absolutely support the fact that everybody has to be quarantined. Everybody. But what they did was not perfect. What they did was not absolutely right, because they were supposed to, inform people, inform those Africans that they will be quarantined somewhere, through media or through phone calls, because where most of these Africans live in Guangdong, government officials, they know all these places, right? They know all these places. So they should have informed them through telephone or whatever means that they have to be quarantined at home or in their hotels, not asking people to go to a special place for quarantine, for a period of 2 weeks, and you will have to pay for your 2 weeks stay. They don't pay for that. You are going to pay for it. You are going to pay for it. You have people who are here for business. You have people who are here for business, and they don't have that much cash to go for quarantine and pay for it for 2 weeks. You have people who live at home with their family. You can't take them out of their family and ask them to go stay somewhere for quarantine. I mean, that's my own opinion. I don't think that was perfect. I don't think that was perfect. So at this point in time, I'm not trying to say people should be angry with Chinese people wherever they are. No, they are still our friends. They are still our business partners. I don't support any violence. I don't support hatred. But I think it's just a wake-up call for most of us, home and abroad, to start thinking the way forward, to start thinking, because during this period, a lot of companies are going bankrupt. A lot of contracts, especially here in China, are being canceled. A lot. And what pays me enough, or what pays me just more than enough, is facial masks are being imported from China. People still import masks. I'm not saying the mask that comes from China is bad. No, I'm not saying so. But this is one of the most easiest thing that people can produce. A family can produce such a thing. Families can produce masks. But these things are coming from China, which is crazy, because it shows how incompetent most of us are. It shows how lazy most of us are. My family, my Chinese family right here, they know well that I don't have that time. I don't have the time to sit and think of any investment that I can invest here in China. I have nothing that I can ever sit and say, I want to invest this in China. No. Or Asia in general. Because my mind is Africa, because I am African. My mind is African. Whatever I'm thinking is Africa. Whatever investment is should be in Africa. And so whatever is happening right now has actually sealed the plan that I had in Africa. And as I was saying, as an African, you should think as an African. Stop thinking I am from Ghana, I'm from Chad, I'm from this part of Africa. And so your mind should be focused in that particular area where you're coming from. Think Africa, which means you can invest anywhere in the continent, anywhere, anywhere in Africa. And so this is the right moment for most of us to team up and start thinking, what are some of the investments that we can begin in Africa? Now, what Africa suffer most right now is infrastructure. Infrastructure. That's one of the biggest problem we have in Africa. And so most of us, we should start thinking of infrastructure, how to invest in infrastructure in Africa. There are just so many ways we can get involved in when it comes to infrastructure in Africa. Secondly, agriculture. Agriculture. That's one of the biggest problem we have in Africa. These two things, infrastructure and agriculture. And I see it as I see it as one of the basic things we should start looking and thinking of in our continent. There are just so many of it, but these two things are very important for now. So wherever you're coming from, wherever part of Africa you belong to or you're coming from, start to think of these two things, agriculture and infrastructure. But before then, like I said, think Africa. Think as an African, which means you can establish, you can invest in any part in Africa. There are just so much tribalism, just a lot of tribalism that is holding us back. These are some of the barriers we have to break. Tribalism. I have this huge project that I want to carry out, but I must do it in my village. I must do it with my own countrymen. These are some of the things that hold us back. And here in Asia, they don't have that. They don't have that. They don't have things like that. And that's why you find countries like China, they take 2, 5, 10 years. You go to an area where it was swampy. You can't live there. You can't live there because the cost of living in that area has skyrocketed. So please, as Africans, let's join our heads together. Let's join our minds together. Team up wherever you are with other Africans and start thinking, especially those of us who are here in the diaspora. Please team up with other Africans around and start to brainstorm on those business aspects, those development aspects that you can carry out in Africa, wherever you're coming from. You can decide with your other teammates to go anywhere you think it's favorable in terms of tax, in terms of other aspect that you can easily carry out a project and start seeing how you build yourself, you build your community, you build Africa. I think enough is enough. Enough is enough. This is time for us to rise as one man and start to build a continent. There is nowhere in the world that is as sweet as home. You can have billions abroad and you think you're living a luxury life, spend however you want. I can tell you, those around don't see you as anything. They see you as an African. They see you as a black man. And so for you to be proud, it's time for you to go back to where you come from. And so most of us diasporans we've got a lot of terrible abuse around where we live, where we walk. Go back. Go back. Yes, we have to go back. These are some of the ways these people irritate us, and we have to take it. We have to take it. We have to take action now. Now. This is the time for us to rise as one people. Yes, lady sister, how are you doing, my dear? How are you doing? I am sure you are safe wherever you are. Like I said, we can't do so much at this particular moment in terms of action, but we can do a lot by thinking. We can do a lot through research. We can do a lot if we team up in groups. We can do a lot if we come together and start, brainstorming on some of the things that we can do, and see how we can build our continent, see how we can actually develop ourselves and do just so much. Because if you look very well, you see that there are plenty of opportunities in our continent. There are plenty of opportunities in our country. There are plenty of opportunities that we can take from here and go back home with. Just so much. Just so much. But what we do is we decide to be, just so comfortable wherever we are. We decide to be just so comfortable. We should stop pretending, because I would say this is just pretending. Deep in our mind, we know where we're coming from. We know how people are struggling. We know the opportunities that we have, but we just don't want to take action. It's just so funny when most of us, we live abroad, like most of us here in Asia, or especially here in China. We live here in China, we're struggling to get a job, but Chinese farmers are going back to Africa and making it big. Chinese farmers are heading back to Africa, buying huge lands and doing just farming. They are making it big. It's crazy. And we are here in their country. They are abusing us. They are calling us black ghosts. They are calling us black people. They are calling us all sort of names. The earlier we start to appreciate what we have, the better. The earlier we start to see ourselves important people, the better. The earlier we start to see ourselves as one of the most important people in the world, the better. First, if you are not proud as an African, then any race can say and do whatever they want to us individuals and also to our country, to our continent. Can you imagine that an Asian person will stay in Asia without a visa? Excuse me, in Africa without a visa for years. And once he got confronted and said, you have to go back to your country because you've been living here illegally. he starts a fight. He starts a fight, not with ordinary people, but with government officials. That shows how, superior they want to be. That shows how, that shows how they really want to take us as people who have no voice, like we are nothing. You understand? Like they can do whatever they want, anywhere, anytime, with anybody. All these things have to stop. All these things have to stop. How can we stop these things? How can we stop, all these Asians and Europeans and, Americans coming into our continent, coming into our countries and doing things that are illegal? They do these things illegal because first, our leaders give them the opportunity to do whatever they want. Our leaders give them the opportunity to do whatever they want. And so, whatever is happening right now in Asia, I strongly believe that most of our leaders are supposed to wake up. Today, I read a news that Kenya has issued a notice that all Chinese should pack and leave. The Kenyan government has issued an alert, warning alert to all Chinese that they have given them a certain period of time to pack and leave. Now, I don't know if this is real. I still have to, reconfirm this with my Kenyan friends. The Ghanaian president and other African leaders have issued a communique to China that they should address what is happening here in China with Africans. What is happening here is not good. It's not good for the Chinese government. It's not good for individual Chinese. It's not good for their economy. It's not good for us Africans. It's not good for our economy. We need China. China need us. We need to grow our economy. But it is a wake-up call for us all Africans. It is a wake-up call for us diasporans to go back home. I'm not saying you pack your bags and start, heading to the airport. Start by doing your research. Start by doing proper research on what project you can go back to our motherland and start investing. Start by talking to people, finding the right partners you can work with. Start by looking around where you're living, those opportunities, those things that you can take back home and implement. There are just so many opportunities out here that we can copy and take back home. Just so many things, so many. Please, this is the right moment for us to start doing proper research on so many things. Like I said, agriculture and infrastructure. These are the two things that we have to start thinking of. It's just so sickening. It's just so sickening. And so please, if you have any proper proposal on some of the things that you think as Africans we have to start by, looking into when it comes to development, when it comes to project, please team up with Africans wherever you are and start brainstorming on all those things and seeing how, you can put your resources together and start making plans on how we can go back home and invest. We need plenty of manufacturing in our continent to the least mask the import from China. Now, when China closes its borders, a lot of companies, they go bankrupt. They go bankrupt because we've just put all our eggs in one basket. Like we never knew things like this gonna happen, like what's happening right now. And just so I don't blame them. We gave them the opportunity to let this to happen. And so it's crazy. It's just so crazy. It's just so crazy. I'm gonna be coming live very often. And if you would like to be live with me and we talk one-on-one, if you will be live with me, you let me know at the comment section. Let me know if you'll be interested. We can come live and talk some of these things together. This could also be a perfect time for us to come live and share our ideas. Yes, let me see if I can put your okay. A lot of bro and sis are boycotting any Asian stores. Yes, exactly. First of all, this is what is happening right here. People are not allowed to enter shopping mall. People are not allowed to go to supermarket, any public area. People are not allowed to go into. If you are an African, you are not allowed. You are not allowed. I don't know why, but if this is all about just quarantine Africans, why should you stop those without the virus to stay away from public places like supermarket, restaurant, fast food joint, all those places? They stop people from going into those places. If you are an African, they stop you. You don't go there. Landlord, they call you that you have to leave. You've paid your rent for 6 months, 1 year. They call you, please, you have to leave within 24 hours. If you are in a hotel, they ask you to leave. Why? And their media go online and say the opposite. They say the opposite. And like I said, I don't want to talk too much on this issue because it's not taking us anywhere. It simply make us angry. This is a wake-up call for most of us to start thinking, building our own. Like you said, our sister said, a lot of Africans, I don't know if Americans and Europeans are also boycotting supermarkets and stores from in Asia, Asian stores in America and other part in the West, like boycotting their stores. I don't know, but This is the time for us to build our own. All right. This is the time. So we have to seize this opportunity to build our own, consume our own. Okay. Like here in Asia, there are a lot of social medias that are being blocked. They're being blocked. Like WhatsApp, you got just so many of it. Facebook, YouTube, all those stuff are being blocked. They're blocked. But we have our own. We have our own made in Africa. But we don't use them. And so we have to start doing research on made in Africa and start consuming, start promoting. This is crazy. This is crazy. And so, like I said, this is not the time for us to be just so angry and hate people who come from Asia, hate Americans because they shoot us in the street, because you're wearing I mean, you're wearing whatever, and they just shoot you, pull you out from your car, and they just shoot you, and they take you to jail and all that stuff. This is the time to start building our own in Africa. And so if you are an African American, you've never been to Africa, this is the perfect moment for you to start hanging out with Africans, start building relationship with Africans. This is the perfect moment for you to start finding your root. Last year, 2019, Ghana was full with African Americans. They return. Most of them, they return. Most of them, they don't even know if they're actually from, their great-great-grandparents came from Ghana. But what they did was they returned to Ghana. They met the president. They met government officials. They start buying lands. They start asking for, how they can manage to get some kind of legal papers, get some kind of, powers that can actually allow them to invest in the country. This is the perfect moment for Africans to start thinking of how to develop their continent. No matter where you are in the world, there's nowhere that is better than your motherland. Nowhere. So, like I said, I'm going to be back probably tomorrow, if not. But before I come live, I will try to notify people so that they should try and schedule their time. We can meet online, brainstorm on some of these things, ask questions, try to see how we can, build ourselves individually as a group. This is not the time to say I have this knowledge and I have to keep it for myself and blah blah blah. This is not the time. This is not the time. Africa is huge. The opportunities are huge. And so we have to come together. We have to team up, because this is how these people team up and they build their country. They build their continent. Okay? So, for those who have been watching, I don't know how many people watching. I don't know. It's like 2, 3, 4. But again, those who are not live right now can watch this broadcast anytime, I'm sure you will be able to pick something. You will be able to, start something wherever you are. Like I said, coming together as Africans and start seeing how you can brainstorm on those different aspects that can actually develop our continent. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and stay safe wherever you are. And catch you guys probably tomorrow. But before I come live, I'm going to notify you people that I will be live. So that if you are interested to be live with me one-on-one, you can also let me know at the comment section, maybe on this video, or whatever notification I'm going to put online that I'm coming live. You can just let me know at the comment section. So once I'm live, I can try to pull you so we talk. But again, what I'm using to go live, it's you can see it right there at my screen. It's StreamYard. It's free. You can download it. It's very, very easy to use. You can download it, and but again, you can still use it. Once I send the link to you, you can use it, and we go live. Like right now, let me see. Let me see. If anybody wants to go live right now as I'm talking, if anybody wants to go live right now for a couple of minutes, please just indicate at the comment section so we can try it, so that others can actually understand how it works. And so next time when I'm coming live, we can, we can go live without any problem, and other people can copy as well. It's pretty easy. Let me see if I can actually share my screen. I've already been live for almost 1 hour. I really don't want to make long live stream, but let me show. Yeah, this is actually how it looks, but I don't know if it's large enough for